Hey everyone, so today we will be talking about tooling API and metadata API first in the first half, and in the second half we will go through the interview questions, company specific interview questions. So this is going to be the format from now on. One day we will be doing company specific interview questions so that those who are giving interviews will be able to treat it like a crash course for the interview preparation. And the other day, we will be doing the remaining topics we have. LWC, couple of topics on the integrations, and we will keep on picking new topics. Okay. So our focus will mostly be on interview questions and how do we answer those questions. Okay. This is the time of this course where we go through all the questions we have on the sheet and try to discuss among ourselves like about how to answer such questions and what could be the different ways to answer those questions. Okay, many times when we talk about the integrations, we have we almost say we have REST integrations, we have SOAP integrations. Sometimes in an interview, they ask questions like what is metadata API, or what is streaming API, or what is tooling API. And even though they are pretty straightforward and simple, we fail to answer them because we don't know them yet in reality, what they are, what happens in the back end, and how do we use them. So we fail to answer them. A hint of metadata API you can see in the query editor where you have this option, use tooling API. Okay, so tooling API and metadata API are pretty much same. You can say metadata API is an older version. Metadata API is about whenever you want some data about the metadata of it, metadata of your org. Like what is metadata? Metadata is data about data. So let's say you have an Apex class, or you have a custom field, or you have a, let's say, account table. Okay, then account table will have account name, account status. There are different fields will be in there. Those fields, or you can say the field name, are nothing but the metadata of that account table. Whenever we need some information about metadata, then we use either metadata API or tooling API. Okay, so they both are pretty similar, but they have specific use cases. Okay, so first we will see what is tooling API. Okay, tooling API is an API by which you can query the metadata. Okay, so let's say if I have to query all the validation rules from the org, select ID from validation rule. Okay, and you try to execute, it will say it is not a proper query. If I use tooling API and then execute this, you will be able to see that you've got the result. Because validation rule is metadata, and that metadata has not been exposed via the normal Salesforce SOQL query. Okay, so that is why when you use tooling API, you will be able to get it. But when you use it without tooling API, you will not get the result and it will say that query is not right. So tooling API, with the help of tooling API, you are able to get the information about the metadata of it. Now, there will be a couple of scenarios where you will be able to, like if I query the Apex class, you will be able to get the Apex class even without the tooling API. So there will be a couple of metadata which are exposed even for the normal SOQL query, but most of the complex metadata, or most of the metadata which are not required as a front face for any of the user need or any of our programming need, will be in the backend, will be only available when we use the tooling API or the metadata API. Okay. Now, when do we use tooling API? We use tooling API to build custom development tools or apps in the Lightning platform. Okay, let's say you have to build an app on which you just give the account name, or you just give the object name and it will be able to fetch all the validation rule, or you just give the username and that tool should be able to fetch all the validation rules, or sorry, all the permission sets associated with that user so that you can manage it on your own via that tool. Or let's say you want to build an extension where you want to have a tool by which, let's say, you just enter the username, whatever permissions he has, or um, whatever objects he's involved in, or whatever email alerts he is associated with, you can get all the information about it. You will use the tooling API. So understand, tooling API is more inclined towards the development. Okay, whenever you will have to build a custom development tool, whereas metadata API also does the same thing, but it is more associated with the deployment in your org. Okay, so the very important question comes here is that the difference between tooling API and the metadata API. Okay, so first, metadata API is basically an API um, which defines how your org function, like whatever objects you define, then different fields you define, that is nothing but the metadata of your org. Okay, metadata API works with metadata and different components of your org. The main purpose of metadata API is to move metadata between Salesforce org during the deployment process. Okay, we use metadata API to deploy, retrieve, create, update, or delete different custom objects, definitions, and page layout and everything. Metadata API is more inclined towards the deployment, whereas tooling API is more inclined towards the custom development. Okay, you can query the metadata via the tooling API. Okay, that is the special feature you have available in the tooling API. So they will definitely ask you whenever in an interview they go through this route of asking questions on metadata API and tooling API. Most probably they will ask the question, what is the difference between tooling API and metadata API? You will say that tooling API is specifically designed to help developers build IDE apps or custom apps for Salesforce, while metadata API is more general purpose configuration migration tool by which we help migrate. Okay. Now, all the things which metadata API does, can tooling API do? Yes, tooling API is way advanced and you can say the latest thing available in terms of dealing with the metadata. So tooling API will obviously in future may replace the metadata API, but metadata API is, you can say, is currently available in so many IDE tools, and even in the developer console, many of these things you see in the data loader, in the different IDE tools, you see all the deployment which happens, it happens via the metadata API. So in future, maybe tooling API be able to replace metadata API, but currently it is not available. There are use cases when we specifically need the metadata API because it is available in the backend. Now, you as a Salesforce developer need not to build anything on it. You have to just use it. So let's say you use VS Code to deploy your code, or you use VS Code to create a new custom object and then deploy that to your org. You are using a metadata API. Okay, so you just need to know what it is and when you are using it. Okay, you need not to build anything on it. Maybe you will be using tooling API in future whenever you'll have to create a app exchange product or something which will help you configure your org better. Right. Like the example I told you about having a tool which will tell that which user has what permission set and what permissions that particular permission set has. If you want to find out something like this, you can build a tool in the backend with the help of tooling API, query all the profiles and permission set, and then inside that profile or permission set, query specific permissions if you want to. But very rarely you get such projects because we work mostly um, in the development part where we'll have to write triggers and batches and everything. These comes more towards creating tools or creating apps, which very rarely we get to create on. Okay, so the difference is very important. You will have to tell the difference to them, because then only they'll be able to understand that, okay, yes, you understand the crux of it, that when to use metadata API versus when to use the tooling API. Now, we have just seen the query part of it, like how do we query the metadata API, but how actually it happens, like third-party system calling Salesforce and getting information about the tooling API. How does that happen? Okay, so for that, we will use the workbench. And by this, I will also be able to explain you the workbench, what it is and how do we use it. Okay, this is a very good tool. I have already logged in with my production, like with my DevOps. There are multiple things. First, you need to know is that you can do SOQL query. I'm just telling you the features which we mostly be using. Okay, so here you can directly write down which object you want to do the query. Yeah, tooling API obviously is latest, so more powerful. You're right. And here you can select, you can write down your query manually. Select ID from account, you'll be able to get, or you can also select fields from here. Okay. All right. So this is both. Salesforce Inspector is built with both. The problem with it is that you will not be able to understand if certain thing is built via tooling API or metadata API, because that information might not be exposed to you. But it must be using one of it. Okay. And in future, tooling API has all the capabilities to replace the metadata API completely. Okay. Now, let me show you first the tooling API thing. Here there is a tool called REST Explorer. Whenever we'll have to explore about the callout or something, this is the query you will be write. Okay, let's write. If you want, I'll show you first the blank and then I will do the query of it. Okay. So when you will open the REST Explorer, this will be given to you. This will explore all the REST API available in your org. Okay. You can say if you want to see the metadata API, you can click on it. Just whatever is written before services is nothing but the base URL of your org. Okay, so you will do this call out. This will become your endpoint. And then when you do this endpoint, this will be this API you are calling, deploy request. I mean, this is the only endpoint available in the metadata API to deploy something. Okay. And if I currently just want to show the, there are other APIs available and you can see them all. But what we want to is tooling API. So this is the tooling API. Tooling API allows you to do a SOQL query. So you can write down your query right here, like this, query slash, and then this will be the query part of it. Here you can write select, and wherever we have a space, you will have to replace it with plus. Select ID, comma, name, plus from, plus validation rule, and try to query from query. Okay, I think there should also be a plus. Let us just first query this. Okay, there should be equals also, right? Okay, we did this query. This is how we write query, right? Select ID from validation rule. Let's do the query. And then you can see that you have got the two records. So this is treat Workbench as a third-party tool who is doing the call out to your endpoint. They will directly be able to get the information about the validation rule. Similar, they are able to get the information about the metadata of your org by just using the tooling API. So this is the endpoint Salesforce has exposed. Now, you will give this endpoint to the third party system along with proper authentication and authorization, so that when they hit this endpoint, they will be able to get data from your org. This is the validation rule. We have only two validation rules, so that is why it is able to give you both of them. Okay, this is the first one. We are specifically calling this validation rule. And if you go back, let's redo it. Hmm. We've got two validation rule. You check the attribute, you will be able to get the whole URL of it. If you click on it, you will be able to get the complete validation rule, name and object and wherever it is. You will be able to get all. Okay. So metadata API, tooling API is not only limited to just doing the query here, but also you can give this to third party, and that is the main use. It's like why will you query within your own org? You can directly go to metadata and see that, but sometimes you might need to see in order to debug something, which is okay. But most of the time third party will be calling, you will be giving this tooling API. See, this is an API means that any other party need it. Okay, they will be needing it in order to get information about your org. API is just nothing but an interface between you and the third party system, so that third party system will be able to get information from you. So that's where tooling API will come in picture, and you'll be able to give this endpoints to third party system, and then they will be able to query the data, or you can say query the metadata from your org. This is the tooling API. Okay, now comes the metadata API. As I told you, metadata API is more inclined towards the deployment part of it. All the deployments you do via the VS Code or something, that is done via the metadata API. So let me see. Okay, in this, I do not have VS Code. Okay. सबसे पहले तो let me download VS Code. This is my personal laptop, guys. I do not have VS Code. But see, you log into VS Code, you create, let's say you create a new custom object, right? And then you give all the name and everything to it, and then you deploy that custom object to your third parties or your Salesforce org. That is nothing but creating a custom object via the metadata API. Similarly, you create a Lightning Web Component. Similarly, you create an Apex class. That is nothing but using the metadata API. Okay. So that is metadata API. Now I want to download it so that I can start teaching the LWC from tomorrow on. I will make sure that I do all this setup. Everybody has set up the VS Code in their laptops.
Yes, Mohit.
Perfect. Because last time when I did LWC, that editor was available, but this time I think they have blocked that editor. I think that is not available. So I'll do it directly in the VS Code, because that's where most people does, and that's where you guys will be needing me for. Okay.
Sir, sir, what about the bulk API?
Bulk API 2.0 and single sign-on. These are the two topics I'll be covering in next session. Bulk API is nothing but what we use in the data loader to do the bulk of the data load. But there is bulk API 2.0, which I want to explain in detail. We will cover that in the next session, along with the single sign-on. So what we have done till now: REST API, streaming API, metadata API, and tooling API. We'll have to cover the bulk API, and then let me know if there is anything else you want me to cover.
Yes, the scope part that you were saying
Scope part.
of the integration, the REST API while integrating the REST API, refresh token and full. What
Okay.
are the other scopes?
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Authentication and authorization, right?
Yes, related to that.
Hmm. Okay. JWT token. You want to
Right.
discuss JWT
Exactly.
token? Okay. Sure. See, so in the even in the integration, what we have done is we have done the auth 2.0, and in auth 2.0 we saw the access token. We saw the session IDs, right? We did not see the name credentials yet, right? Directly passing username and password. So let us
No.
one integration with the name credential and JWT token. I'll see how I can simplify that. It's bit off topic, but yes, we will do. Okay, so this is getting downloaded. Let me pull up the interview questions. Okay, so from now on, the main topic or the main thing we will be doing will be the interview questions. Okay, at least for half an hour, we will do every day so that this this should become a habit for us to always do collaboration on interview questions. So let's say if we are discussing these questions for this particular company, I don't know why somebody has not mentioned the name. So let's say I'm discussing the interview questions for Deloitte. Now this should be a collaborative effort. Like we should be on top of every question. Like we should discuss. Not it should not be like I'm talking and you guys are listening, because these are the interview questions. You will also have your thought on how you will answer it. Or I might ask you, okay, what are the possible reasons to display LWC component to display? Well, let's take a better example. Why we use test.start test and test.stop test. Now I can directly ask these questions to anybody. Like if I ask this to Divya, Divya has to answer, okay, that's how I will answer it. It's not about anybody judging anyone, but this is how we will improve as a group when we discuss the interview question. Okay. So that's how we will be doing every day, at least for half an hour, we will be discussing the interview question. This will bring us to the pace. This will give us a real feeling of interview, and then we will obviously improve ourselves. Okay, does that make sense to you all? Come on guys, yes or no, at least.
Yes, yes, Mohit.
Yes,
Perfect.
Mohit.
Yeah, Mo-
We
yes,
will
sir.
be doing it from the bottom because that's where we have latest question, and then we will go to the top. Okay, so from bottom we will be moving to top, and in between we will be doing a couple of topics as well. So let's say currently we are going to through the integration, so we can do integration topics, but main focus will be on company specific interview questions. Okay. All right, there is one more session on integration we will be doing, but then we will start the lightning web component. Okay. All right. Recently, somebody gave interview for Mindtree, and he or she has added these questions. And again, guys, this is very important that you keep on adding questions, because when you add questions, you're not only helping your fellow student, but also uh, to the bigger community, because I might create a video on it so that the rest of the people on YouTube might be able to get to know about these questions. Okay. So it will be a win-win. Just bit of your hard work to add questions, that's it, and it will help everybody. Okay, let's go through this question. Okay, everybody is with me?
Yeah, yeah, Mohit.
Perfect.
Yes.
So this was a technical round because all the questions are kind of technical questions. And when somebody adds question, they mostly add all the high level questions which they got, not exactly the same question or not exactly the same sequence. So sequence could be from admin to the integration or from integration or could be in the scattered manner. Interviewers are very unpredictable. They can ask any question from any topic. Okay. So here, after the introduction, and it is very important that whatever you are saying in the introduction, that kind of sometimes determine the next set of questions. So be very specific when you give your introduction. Include the topics you are good at. Include the topics on which you are comfortable to answer such questions. Okay, because say if I am giving interview and I'm saying that all the things which I'm not very comfortable with, like integration or like Einstein or like community cloud, then obviously those questions, they will ask questions from those topics only because you have mentioned such question. Try to mention the topics which you are very good at. Try to mention the topic which you are very comfortable right now. So let's say if in my current project I'm working mostly on flows, then I'll be very comfortable with the flow interview questions because I know all the nitty gritty of flows right now because I'm working on it. Whereas I might not have worked in any integration in last 7 8 months, I might be bit rusty. I'll not say I do not know integration, but I might say I'm bit rusty in the integration because from last 7 8 months I did not get any work on integration. Okay, so try to highlight the topic which you are currently working on your project because that is the topic which you will be more comfortable with. Okay, and then of course it is they are going to ask anything, but it is about making good impression in the beginning because most of the interviewer make up their mind in the very beginning, like within 10 to 15 minutes they just make up their mind that whether they are going to select it or not. Rest of the time they just try to prove the same point. Okay. So if I'm taking an interview and in the initial 10 minutes I thought that this is a good candidate, then I will just try to prove my point to myself that this is a good candidate. Okay. Even if he is making some small mistakes, I'll say, okay, this is normal. Okay, this is normal. But if I make an impression that, okay, this candidate lacks depth or he is not fundamentally good, then I will just try to make this point in my to myself that, okay, this is not fundamentally good. I will kind of try to ask questions which are fundamentally very appealing, or I'll try to ask a question which will specifically judge his fundamentals. And then if he's not able to answer, I'll just say, okay, I told you that this is not a good candidate. So make a good impression in the beginning. That is very important. Okay. Anybody has faced any such issues? In the beginning itself, they saw that interviewer is kind of made up their mind. Okay, this was your interview, Prashad?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Hmm. Maybe you can explain here itself. How was it? Like, how did it started? I'm specifically interested in how did it started? What were the initial questions?
Initial questions, first of all, he gave his introduction, then he asked for my introduction. So in introduction, mainly I focused on like what kind of work and my current roles and responsibilities and how I am individual contributor as per the JD of the description, job description. So then he asked into all basics of the Salesforce, sharing rules, how security mechanisms, and he gave some scenarios. Basically, if A is able to see, B is not able to see, what can be a chances, or how, what are the possible ways, like we can share the records with multiple users. Then mostly it was for CPQ, so he asked directly into went into a CPQ. He asked basic trigger scenarios like what is possible, can we write uh, like what are the basically trigger contexts and how, where we have to write the code. High level he just asked and he directly jumped onto a CPQ questions. After CPQ, everything he asked basically the from starting lead creation to the order placement, agreements, amendments. So he asked me entire flow, and as part of that flow, what exactly which functionalities I have worked on, the use case explained. Then uh, and as part of that introduction, I mentioned I worked on integration also. Though I
Mhm.
have worked very little, and WebSocket also we are using. There I have worked. So out of that discussion, he asked me all these questions on integration.
Okay, but you did not add any CPQ question.
No, I will add those
Yeah,
CPQ
add CPQ question.
separate tab maybe.
Yeah, sure, sure.
So it
I
was related to more specifically Ponga CPQ. So
okay, okay. All right. All those who don't know CPQ, CPQ is basically a tool. We call it code configure price and quote. Okay, and this is an extension of Sales Cloud. When we use CPQ, a lot of features you get automatically in your Sales Cloud, and it has an extended data model and extended features. Maybe we can have a session on basics of CPQ. I just feel that it could be out of context for those who do not know CPQ at all. So if you go through the basics of at least CPQ trailhead, you will get a basic idea about what are the different objects you use and with different features you get with the CPQ. But if you have worked on CPQ, then only mention CPQ, because it has so much depth that those who have worked on it might not be able to or answer all questions. So forget about those who do not know it. So mention CPQ only if you have worked on it. If you just know the fundamentals of it via Trailhead, be very specific about it that you just know the basics of it, but you will be comfortable in working on CPQ given an opportunity. Okay. But do not try to attract any interview questions on CPQ if you do not know it, because then that will be a recipe of disaster. Okay. Got it, guys?
Yes, sir.
Just a question.
Yep.
Should we say that we know about basics of CPQ after going through a course or a series on YouTube?
Yep.
Should we say that?
You can say you know the basics of it and you understand the data model of it. You also understand some functionalities of it, and you will be pretty comfortable if you get a CPQ project. Okay. Just try to
Okay.
avoid any complex question of it, and complex question arises when you say that yes you have implemented CPQ, yes you have worked in a project in where CPQ was implemented, because then he will expect you that you should know each and everything of CPQ because you have implemented it in an org. Just try to avoid that thing. Rest you obviously can, because you have learned it, you will be able to answer almost every basic question. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So did you get any response from them?
I just typed
You got it, right?
yes, yes, yes.
So are they going for the next round?
Yes, HR is done, and they will release the offer.
Nice. Very good. Hmm. Okay. Very nice. All right. When it comes, there were a lot of integration questions Pranit has written. And when it comes to the integration, first thing interviewer tries to know is that what kind of integration you have worked on, because integration is a very wide topic and everybody has worked on different types of integration. So the first step is to know or to get to know what kind of integrations you have worked on. That will be the kind of first thing interviewer will be trying to do with you, to understand the type of integration you have done so that he can ask further question. Here you will be explaining the different types of integration you have done. Problem will be for those people who have not done any integration at all or have just done integration with the help of learning videos available and all. Okay, they might find this question problematic, but they also can say that, okay, Integration is nothing but connecting two different tools. One will obviously be Salesforce and other one could be the third party system. And here, then you will have to explain whatever scenarios you have learned. Those who have already worked in a project will obviously be able to understand, obviously will be able to explain this question. So this is not for them, but those who have not worked in a real integration project, or let's say just have learned it from YouTube or have learned it from Udemy, they have to be very specific about what is integration. Integration is a mechanism by which we connect two different tools, Salesforce and let's say a third party system together so that they can exchange data. Now, who is doing call out, who is exposing their API depends on the inner context of it, like how we have built this integration. Okay, so in that case, whatever scenarios you have learned, you can tell that, okay, I have worked in an integration or I have built an integration where from Salesforce, we were doing the call out to the third party system. Third party system was exposing their API, and from Salesforce, we were doing call out. And with the help of that call out, we were fetching some data or we were sending some data. Try to be very specific about what you did, because there is no scope of rounding things here and there in integration. You will have to be very specific about it. Interviewer will be able to understand if you are uncomfortable with the topic. Okay, so don't be uncomfortable, be very specific about what you did. So from Salesforce, you connected, let's say, a third party system. From Salesforce, you were doing a call out, or from Salesforce, and from Salesforce, you were either sending some data to that call out, which means you were doing a call out to the post API of that third party system, or you were calling a get API of third party system and fetching some data. Once you get the data in Salesforce, you were either creating data in Salesforce or you were updating the data in Salesforce. That is the inner story of it. But make a very good understanding of what you were doing and how the integration was built, because most of the time they will ask very fundamental questions. Tell me how the integration was working. Tell me the complete flow of it. You will get this question a lot. So in this question, you can say, okay, there was a third party system, let's say XYZ. There was a Salesforce system. So we were creating, let's say, orders in Salesforce. And the moment orders got created, we were sending those orders to third party system. Okay, you can say SAP, you can see Marketo, whatever your third party system is, Workday, ServiceNow, whatever. Orders were getting created in Salesforce. Once orders got created, we were sending that order to SAP. Now here comes the question, when the order got created, will we be sending that automatically or via a button click? That is basically nothing but the trigger point. When the integration was actually getting triggered, you can say, okay, if it was an automatic, this then we might be doing the call out via the trigger via the future method. Or if it is via a button, then we might have created a button on the order page. On click of that button, we were doing the call out to the third party system. Now, because we are sending some data, that means we are sending some payload to third party system, which means they might have exposed an API which is capable to handle some data. That could be a post API, because in the post API, there is a body which takes the data in it. So from Salesforce, we are doing a call out. Whenever order gets created, we will do a call out to third party system. That third party system has exposed their post API so that we can hit their post API, can send them all the necessary information they need in order to create an order. And then orders were getting created in SAP automatically. Okay, this is a basic flow. And once the order gets created, then SAP will send us a response. In the response, there are different response body. Let's say if response body is 200, which is success, then response message is order has got created. And once you get the confirmation that, okay, order has got created in SAP, you will update, let's say there is a status field which has pick list value and which says that order got created in SAP, you will update that status value in Salesforce. This will complete the flow of sending order to SAP and SAP sending confirmation to you, and then you updating your Salesforce order object based on the confirmation you got from the SAP. So this will be a simple flow of your integration. Okay. Remember, there is no middleware involved. There could be a middleware in between. Most of the integrations you will be doing in an enterprise level companies, they will be middlewares. So let's say there is a middleware in between, which is, for example, is MuleSoft. Okay. Now you have MuleSoft in between, so you no longer need to call the SAP endpoint. SAP might still have exposed their API, but Salesforce will not directly interact with SAP now because there is a middleware in between. Salesforce job is to hit the middleware. Middleware will give them what is the endpoint they need to hit now. So from Salesforce, the call out part will remain same. You will send the same body, but instead of calling the endpoint of SAP, you will be calling the endpoint of your middleware. The advantage it has is, let's say earlier you were sending order objects to SAP. Now your company has acquired another tool called ServiceNow. That tool also has to store the information of order. So from Salesforce, you were calling SAP, and now from Salesforce, you also have to call ServiceNow. But for this case, you will have to build another Apex callout class. You will have to build another integration altogether from the scratch. Okay, you were okay with that. Let's say on the third day they got NetSuite. Now NetSuite also need to store the order related information for financial purpose. You will have to build another integration within NetSuite, and this will keep on increasing. So we say that this is not a very scalable approach, because every time a new tool comes in, we will have to build an integration from scratch. This is not a scalable approach, because let's say in future, if you got 10 tools, we'll have to build 10 integration manually, which is a very bad approach. So better approach is we get a middleware in between. That middleware, you will have to do call out from Salesforce only once. And then that middleware will be responsible to send that data to different vendors. Like MuleSoft will be sending it to ServiceNow, MuleSoft will be sending it to SAP, MuleSoft will be sending it um, to Marketo, MuleSoft will be sending it to Workday, MuleSoft will be sending it to NetSuite. From Salesforce, you will be doing just one call out. That's it. And then MuleSoft will take care of the outbound systems or the third-party systems who just need that data. So with the middleware in between, middleware not only does this, it also does a lot of things. Let's say from Salesforce, you are sending order detail. There is a field called order status. Okay, which is a pick list in Salesforce. Okay, in progress or have ordered or completed, there could be various status. But in SAP, let's say it is a Boolean field, ordered or not ordered. In Marketo, it is a text field, or in Workday, it is a text area field. So in this case, middleware will do all the data mapping as well. Like from Salesforce, it got a pick list. Now SAP need it as a Boolean, so it will do a data mapping in between and will send Boolean data to SAP. And Marketer need it as a text, so it will send it as a text. Let's say NetSuite need it as a rich text area, it will send it as a rich text area. So it also does the data mapping part as well. Middleware not only does this, but also handles the error. Okay, let's say you did a call out to MuleSoft endpoint, there was some error. It was not able to get the data. Then it will be able to tell Salesforce what was the problem. Like it should have a mechanism to inform or notify Salesforce. But let's say it got data in Salesforce from Salesforce, but when it tried to send to SAP, it went successful. But when MuleSoft tried to send the same data to, let's say Workato, or sorry, not Workato, let's say NetSuite, it got an error. So MuleSoft will be responsible to do the retry. MuleSoft will be responsible to check with NetSuite about what went wrong in this transaction. Was there any mapping issue? Was there any server issue or whatever? And then retry that. So MuleSoft will be responsible for the error handling as well and retry mechanism as well. If there is a middleware in between, then we as a Salesforce system need not to worry much. Most of the heavy lift is done by the middleware. Those who have worked in a real integration projects might know this, that when there is a middleware in between, our job is very simple: hit the endpoint, give them data, and get the successful response. From Salesforce, let's say we are sending order to MuleSoft. Once MuleSoft will receive that order information, then MuleSoft will give us confirmation that MuleSoft has received your order information. Then MuleSoft will send that data to SAP, and then SAP will send a confirmation to MuleSoft that they were able to create order based on the order information they got from MuleSoft. Then MuleSoft again will send us confirmation that SAP has also received your data. Then same goes for the NetSuite. That's how we build a flow of it. Like, how will Salesforce get to know that order got created in SAP? Unless we build a mechanism by which we inform Salesforce that order got created in SAP. So we can put it like this. There is a status field, there is a pick list field, current status in Salesforce in order object. When we send that data to MuleSoft, MuleSoft will give us confirmation. And based on that confirmation, we will update the pick list value that order received at MuleSoft. Okay, then MuleSoft will send that data to SAP. SAP will send a confirmation back to MuleSoft. MuleSoft will again send us confirmation that now order has got created in SAP. We will update the pick list value that order got created in SAP as well. Similarly, for other objects as well, for other tools as well, we can build it in a way that we do get confirmation whenever the order gets created in the third-party system. So, be it any example, they will be very much interested in what kind of integration you have worked on. They will be very much interested in understanding the overall flow. And then comes the inner question. Inner question could be, between Salesforce and SAP, how were you handling the authentication? What was your mechanism? How do you authorize the MuleSoft's endpoint? How MuleSoft was able to give you a confirmation back. Okay, so then there could be a couple of inner questions about authentication and authorization. Questions could be about what is the difference between authentication and authorization, what mechanism you were using for authentication and authorization. You will say Auth 2.0. They might ask what is the flow of Auth 2.0. Okay, so there could be multiple inner question, but the first question will always be explain the whole flow of your integration, because they will be interested in knowing. So at least try to prepare one integration flow which is perfect, which you will be able to tell in an interview, and try to build a defense system around it. Like, what could be the cross question in it, and what will be your answers for those cross questions. Okay. Does this flow help you all to understand how it works?
Hello, sir.
Yep.
So in order to receive the response, whether the order has been created in the SAP, to receive that response in Salesforce, we need an additional middleware, or we can do that also in the one-on-one integration.
We can do in the normal integration. So let's say there is no middleware in between. You are directly calling the third-party system, right?
Right.
Third-party system will be receiving, and then they will send us the response back. In the same, you get the responses. Whenever you send an HTTP request, you get a response. In the response itself, they can send us the confirmation that they have received it. Okay, and then once the order gets created, so this again is not a two-way integration. This still is a single way. From Salesforce, you are sending some data and getting confirmation from SAP. SAP is still not sending you any data. If SAP is supposed to send you any data, let's say you send order from Salesforce to SAP, then SAP creates their own order, and based on that order, let's say they create a receipt. There is an object called receipt. Order receipts get generated once order gets created in SAP, and then SAP sends you that order receipt. Then it will become a two-way integration. Then SAP is also sending you data. You are sending data to SAP. SAP is sending you data as well. In that case, they will do a call out to your endpoint to send the order receipt. and you might have exposed something by which you will be able to get the order receipt from SAP in Salesforce. Okay, then it will become a two-way integration. Okay.
Yes, okay.
Come on, guys. Anybody has any uncomfortableness with the basic flow of integration? Trust me, you will get it in your interviews. You'll have to be very perfect in telling the flow, because this flow will determine the next set of questions you will get in the interview. Okay. Other things are a bit easy. How do you set the endpoints? Authentication and authorization is not now very easy. If you are comfortable, you can tell that, okay, I have created a, so from the org, which is exposing their API, the org which is exposed, let's say you are exposing the API from your Salesforce org, then you will have, you have exposed an API because you want any other system to call that API, right? When you want someone else to call you, you will have to add that particular third party system in your connected app, so that your Salesforce system will recognize that, okay, this SAP tool is a connected app available in Salesforce. That means we have connected Salesforce and SAP together via this connected app, and SAP is allowed to do XYZ things, whichever we have given in the connected app. So whenever third party system calls you, that third party system needs to be there in your connected app. Otherwise, they will fail the authentication and authorization because you have not allowed them. Obviously, you do not want any unknown third-party system to be able to call your API. So you will create an API, and then you will set the connected app so that you can set the authentication and authorization for that third-party system, so that with the help of that authentication and authorization, we can say client secret and consumer key, they will be able to call you. When they provide a correct consumer key and consumer secret, then you will be able to verify that whenever SAP calls you, you will be verifying that consumer secret and consumer key. And then you will say, okay, yes, this is an authorized app because we have added this app in the connected app. They are providing the correct consumer secret and consumer key. They have done the authentication. They are a valid third party tool to call us, and let's give them whatever they need from us. Then you will give them what they need from that third party API, from that API you have created. Now, when you are doing the call out, let's say SAP has exposed their API. When you are doing the call out, you have to do the same thing. You will have to provide the consumer key, consumer secret, or whatever authentication they are using. If they are using, let's say, name credential, then you, if you are, they are using the username and password, then you will have to provide a username password. You will have to have an account on SAP system. They will give you username password. You will pass that username and password to them. They will verify their username and password. Once they verify and say, yes, you are authorized to do it, you are an authentic user, then only they will give you some data back to your request, and then that data will come in the response of it. Okay, so this is the basic flow of it. uh
Y-
So
Mohit,
does, yes,
go,
you go. Go.
go ahead, guys. Go
okay.
ahead.
So when someone third party system want to connect with Salesforce, they provide the client ID and client secret, and we are giving them the access token. Like Salesforce will generate access token based on that. Using that access token, they can make the actual
Yes,
call, right? So
correct.
that access token generation part, it's like out of box Salesforcing, right? We don't have to do anything. Like we don't do anything
We need
to.
not to do anything. If we are using auth 2.0 flow, then access token, refresh token happens automatically. We need not to do anything. We will first have to, if it is R 2.0, then we need not to worry about anything. It will do everything in the backend. That's why we use the R 2.0. That's why we use the auth providers and name credentials and everything, so that we need not to do anything specifically. It will get generated and authentication will happen in the backend automatically.
Yeah, like same thing I told to interviewer, and he was keep on asking like what you did to generate the access token.
Okay.
Uh,
In questions
yeah.
like this, you can say, okay, there must be a URL to get the access token, right? Third parties,
Mhm.
whoever is giving access token must be giving us, okay, auth, whatever endpoint they have to give an endpoint for the access token. We will first call that endpoint. In the response to that call, they will give us the access token. We will get that access token. We will append that access token in the further calls, whatever endpoint they have provided to, let's say, give the order or something. We will append that endpoint. We will either add it on the header, whichever way they want us to send it,
Mhm.
add it in the header, that access token, and then we will send that. So first we will do a call out to get the access token, and then we will do the call out to get the order details. So in the second time, when we do the call out to get the order details, we will append the access token in the authorization header.
Yeah,
Okay.
along with the bearer. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, along with the other details. And if access token is expired, then we will get the refresh token. So this happens in the backend automatically, but sometimes the third party system or other system does not support the automation and all. So you will have to call it again. Access token you will get if that access token is this is you can say is expired, then you will have to call a refresh token. You get the refresh token and then you add the refresh token in the header and then do the call out. So but
So
you
what?
understand basics of it, what you need. You, if your third party system tells you, and it is dependent on third party system. Let's say from Salesforce, you are calling a third party system. Okay. Then it is third party who will decide what authentication and authorization they will be doing. It is not you. You will not decide that. It is their system. They are exposing something. So security is on them. We will have to just follow what they want from us. So if they say that, okay, you will have to first provide your username and password, valid username and password, you will give us first time. On return of that, we will give you a access token. If they say that, then you will have to do first a call out to the auth endpoint, and you will have to pass the username and password, and in return you will get the access token. Okay, you now have got the access token. Now you need to get the order details from it. Okay, so to get the order details, you will have another endpoint. In the authorization header, you can pass that access token and other endpoints like the order detail endpoints, whatever they provide you. Now this time they will not confirm the username and password because you have access token. This time they will just check the access token. This time, if access token is valid, then they will obviously let you in and will give you all the details you want. If access token is an expired one, okay, then you will have to pass the refresh token. Refresh token you will have to first request. You will have to request the refresh token as well. Once you get the refresh token, similarly to access token, you will add the refresh token in the authorization header, and then you will do the call out. So authorization and authentication depends on the org or the tool we are calling. Whichever tool is exposing their API, they will set the security parameters, what security parameters they want to set. If they want to set an open API, like there is no security at all, you just call the endpoint and get the data. Then you need not to send anything. If they said, okay, you will have to pass the username and password, then you will have to provide username password. Okay. And how do we discuss which to pass, which not to pass? Whenever you will get an integration requirement, we and the third party system both sit together. We talk about what they need from us, what we need from them, what data they need from us, what data we need from them, what will be the format of data, which format do they support, which format do we support, whether we'll be doing REST API or we'll be doing SOAP API, whether we'll be getting JSON or we'll be getting XML. They will be giving you sample JSON. You will be giving them sample call out code. So all these things happens simultaneously together by sitting together, discussing a lot with these teams. Okay.
Okay. And the refresh token is
Mhm.
like what is the lifetime of the refresh token?
See, lifetime also they control. The
Okay.
third party system which is doing the which is exposing their API, they control. If they want to create an access token which never expired, they can do that. Okay, so they can create an access token which never expires at all. But most of the time they will not do that. It will have a certain refresh period. If you do the call out within that period, it will be valid. Otherwise, it will not be valid. Then in that case, you will have to request for the refresh token. Okay, it will also be uh, it will not be
Then
infinite time, because from the security point of view, if you see, it is not a feasible thing to create a token which never expires, because that will be a security threat, right?
yep. So yeah, if access token we get like expiry time with like three things we get: refresh token, access token, and expiry time. So access token have some like 60-minute expiry time, and refresh token is it's like we can use again and again, right?
Mhm. And there are other ways as well. Few or just use the session IDs. Like you just get the session ID, and then with the help of session ID, you will be able to do that. So there are
So
various ways to do.
so when we are like I try to debug the session ID in the anonymous window, it is giving something like uh, it's not showing the session ID. I remember
That
previously I
you
used
will
to
not
do.
be able to get directly in the developer console. You can just convert it in the substring, and you will be able to get that. I think we did that in the class when we discussed the first integration. You just you just add the substring and then 15 characters of it or something, you will be able to get the ID. Okay. Yeah, I think that is pretty easy. You're getting session ID. Okay. Yeah.
And what will happen if we change the username and password? Will it again authenticate or
Send. If you change the username and password and try to do the call out, it will again ask you to first do the authentication. See, this is how you can get the username and username password. I'm saying session ID. Okay.
Oh,
You must have seen couple of scenarios where you refreshed your org, and the integration start failing. So that fails because username and password got reset. So it will again ask you to authenticate again.
yes, and we use along with the password we use the token, right, that we generate every time that password changed for the user.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just send it on chat. But this is what we have done in our first session, so you can see the screenshot directly. In the first integration video, we have done that. You can do that. All right. Let's decide what we are going to do tomorrow. Bulk API 2.0 and single sign-on. These are the two topics I want to cover, and then we will cover the other interview questions. What I want from you guys is try to find the answer of this. How to encrypt data before sending. Those who know already, don't worry. Those who don't know, try to see. We have encrypt and decrypt classes in Apex. Try to explore more. And then if you have any other sources, you can do that. Okay? Will you do that? Yes, Manjunath, go ahead.
Yes, Mohan.
Yes, yes, Mohit.
Yeah, tell me. Snail. You go, Manjunath. I think she is on mute.
We can use that encode util and decode util, right? We can use these classes.
I want everybody to explore, Manjunath.
Sorry,
That is why
sorry,
I
sorry.
go for it. Go.
thank you.
I know
No,
you.
might be recently सीख लिया हो.
right?
I'm starting doing that. Then
You can send an help article or something in the group.
Yes, please.
Yeah,
It
they'll
will
also,
help us.
है ना? That's what I want
Yeah.
everybody to. Other rest of the other questions are easy. Maybe WebSocket flow. Praneeth, you give a link so that others can go. And Manjunath, you will send link for encryption, and then we will go through. Rest of the questions are easy. I need not to go much on this, but we will cover them each. So today we just discussed the flow, and that's how it works. Like whenever you start explaining the integration flow, a lot of things will come in the interviewer's mind, and then they will ask questions. So your flow should be perfect in your mind. You should play with that flow in your mind multiple times before telling this to interviewer, because he will be asking a lot of cross questions from it. Okay. And
I
yeah.
go ahead, go ahead.
And integration flow is something which they will 99% ask you, like what kind of integrations you have done, and then you will have to explain your integration so that they get to know the different types of integration you have done. Okay.
Sir, good morning, sir.
Go ahead.
Sir, I did only the Salesforce to Salesforce integration and the REST API only put method and this kind of patch method by using Workbench only. I've never used the MuleSoft and this middleware. So we in the 2 years of experience, we can use the MuleSoft and this the middleware integration.
See,
The next Salesforce interview, yeah, next coming Saturday, I have the Salesforce interview. In that, they are giving us some topics, debugging and flows and integration, and these the main topics. So, is it? I mean,
is
it's
it
important to tell middleware.
see, if you have not done something, let's say you have not worked on integration with middleware, and you have to explain in the interview. Companies like Salesforce, they know when you are lying. With Salesforce,
Okay.
you can be frank that you tell them that you know see, you have only 2 years of experience, and it is completely okay not to know this in 2 years of experience. When I was at 2 years of experience, they never let me touch the developer console, because they know that I could write something which could blast everything. So it is okay that you did not get an opportunity. What you can show here is that even though you did not get the opportunity to work on integration in a real project, out of your curiosity, out of your own will to learn, you try to learn the integration between two Salesforce org, because here you can only not only control the call out org, but also control the exposing org. So you did learn it on your own. You do understand all the nitty-gritty of doing the integration. You do understand what is call out. You do understand what is exposing. You do understand how authentication and authorization work. Make yourself perfect there, and then it's okay. You have not worked it in a real project, but if you understand everything, you will be able to answer the cross questions, and that will be the thing they need. They want candidate who are comfortable in these things, because learning is something you will eventually learn that thing when you work in a real project, if your basics are strong. But if your
Yes.
basics are weak, if you do not know these things, then it will take a lot of time for you to get to know all those things, and then they cannot have that much amount of time with you. So go with your real story, tell them that you only know it because you have learned it on your own, but also try to say this with confidence that you understand this. And even if you get to work on a real integration project, these things are going to be the same. Call out will remain call out, authentication will remain authentication. You might have couple of additional discussions about the format of data, or what they need, what do they support, but otherwise everything will remain same, right?
Okay, sir.
In a way it is good that you have done it from Salesforce to Salesforce, because now you understand both part of it, exposing part of it as well as call out part of it. So you are comfortable in doing call out from Salesforce, as well as you are comfortable in exposing your API as well in Salesforce. So you are comfortable with both with a single learning example.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
On top of that, I suggest to just go through the LWC concepts as well as the troubleshoots.
Yep.
Salesforce is more concentrating on those. If they are asking
Okay.
more on the troubleshooting concepts, LWC is
Yes.
mandate.
Is it for the dev support role or for the consultant role?
Supporting engineers, sir.
Support engineer.
Yeah.
Oh, they ask a lot of debug question as well. We have recently covered that. I will share
Yes.
those questions. Okay.
LWC troubleshooting is mandate. This is first.
Yep. 100%.
Okay. Thank you.
LWC, Apex, trouble when it comes to support engineer role, debugging becomes very important. They ask a lot of debugging questions. Okay.
Okay.
And they also ask you to write a advanced SQL query. So go through the aggregate and other good queries.
Sure, sir.
Okay. There will be one question on writing a SQL query as well.
Yeah.
All right.
But one question on
So
this, we're looking at the interview questions of entry.
Mm-hmm.
And I attended long back 6 months ago for the entry. They asked me some couple of questions on the same integration. How do you call endpoint, or how do you integrate with the external partner using LWC without writing the Apex class?
Okay. Can you repeat?
How do you integrate with the external system
Uh-huh.
without writing the Apex class?
Yeah. So from the we have LWC code, right?
Yeah.
So add that endpoint in the remote site setting. Okay. And then use the JavaScript's fetch API.
Yeah.
And with that, I think you'll be able to get without writing anything on Apex side. But you will get it only in the UI side of it. And then you will have to write code if you want that to be stored in Salesforce.
Yeah. When I explained him about fetch API, then after that, his question is, assume that we have thousands of lakhs of records. I can able to retrieve only this much with the one single fetch. So what will be your approach for that to fetch entire data without breaking any data? I told usually if you talk about batch, we can, anything like continuous or where we'll make an offset and we will do that. So the best approach I couldn't explain him because I was not throughout the
Yeah, we have, I have also seen this, like in a real time scenario, I've never got any such requirement where we'll have to do even call out without using Apex. But fetch API is something when I worked on COVID app, I created and was able to display data just in the UI. So fetch API just to get some data so that we can display it in the UI. That's it, not much. We do not want to do much with that data. Otherwise, we'll have to involve Apex there.
Yeah.
We'll see that. I'll write it down. Can
Because there is no way.
in any of the sheet, Manjunath?
Sorry, you want me to make a note
Yeah,
of
I
it?
just want you to write this in the integration Wali sheet. Important
Sure.
integration. Yeah.
Hmm.
I will do doubts tomorrow. I have to rush back to pick my
Hello,
son.
Mohit.
So
I am
just
have a quick question. Can I ask?
Yeah, let's take a couple of questions.
Yeah,
Go.
Mohit, about this first question, what is integration? Explain all types of all type and what is your contribution? So here we should start with this Salesforce integration, like any definition, and then after like types. So the types of Salesforce integration is like REST and SOAP, right? Any other type will be there?
No, here what I see here is that he is asking what kind of integrations you have worked on and what was your contribution of it. He is not
Hmm.
looking the theoretical part of it. He just see, this is the question which will set the template for the further question. This question is basically to tell you that what kind of integrations you have worked on. Along with that, you can tell what are the other integrations, but I will not suggest you to tell the whole theory of it, because if you tell the whole theory, you will obviously tell the metadata API or all other things as well, which could go wrong. Here, keep it very limited. What kind of integrations you have done on and what was your role on it. So what was your role on it? You have written the classes, you have done everything there. Make sure you say that. Don't say that I was just part of it, but someone else wrote the code. I was once asking this question to a candidate, and she told me that, oh no, I was just part of that team. I was watching everything. What will that mean? Like you were watching that thing. If someone else has written that code, then it was not your project. You did not do anything there if you were just watching there. You have written the code, you have done all the discussions with the third party system about how it will work, and then you have built all those APIs. So make sure you say that you have done it. Even if you have not done it in your real project, but you know how it works, you say that you have done it. Otherwise, obviously, this will be zero, right?
Right, Mohit.
But if you get a hint that he wants to understand what are the other types of integration available in Salesforce, then you obviously tell all the theory part of it, REST, so bulk API, metadata API, and everything. You know it, like we have done it practically. So there is no harm in saying all you already know. But
Okay, Mohit.
when it comes to integration, I always kind of tell all the candidates, because when integration comes in, I see people getting very uncomfortable, because it is huge ocean and you might have just picked a bucket out of it. Okay, so just try to explain that bucket. It will help you. Instead, if you try to explain the whole ocean, you will sink there. That is what I do not want from you all. I want you to explain that bucket first, and then because you will be more comfortable answering the questions related to that particular bucket rather than the whole ocean. I don't want you guys to sink in there, because there are so many things which can happen. There could be very difficult questions as well from integration. If he actually wants to beat you there, he can beat you. So don't go on an unknown territory. If you know that, very good. Go there and win it. But if you don't know, then be limited to your own territory within integration. Like let's say if you have just done the REST integration, call out, be there. Tell him that this is what I have done, and I understand the fundamentals, and I would love to explore more on it, so that he'll have an idea that you know the basics of it and you are good, and you are okay to explore it more. Okay, make sense?
Yes, Mohit.
Perfect. Guys, I'll take questions tomorrow. I have to rush 9:30. I'll have to pick my son. So that is why I'm rushing. We will, I'll take more questions tomorrow. Okay. Till then, you can ping your questions on the group. I know I was not available from last couple of days. Since that incident in my office, they have kind of given me more work. Even I was occupied on weekend with my manager. So don't know what's going there, but I'll be more available today. Okay. Thank you, everyone. We will congratulations to
Whom to congratulate?
okay, for the interview, you're saying congratulations?
Yes, Mohit.
Okay, okay. Let him get the final offer. Prashant,
Yes, yes.
when are you getting first offer? You did not get first offer yet?
No, I have, I mean, already one. I'm waiting for other actually.
So why
Only
you
taking-
not tell in the group that you have already got?
I said right last time.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. You have all these skills to get many more. Don't worry. You'll get very soon.
Two are in pipeline, so once it is confirmed, right, I will definitely.
Nice. Very good. Many.
Mohit, I have one guy.
Mm-hmm.
If any openings, let me know. He
For
has a high package.
for
He's
net,
looking for.
for NetSuite?
I mean, any openings. One of my friend is looking for jobs. His
Hello.
project got closed.
Hello, Mohit.
Yeah, hi.
Mohit, this is Shruti. Mohit, I started applying for jobs. I haven't given any interview recently. So it's been 2+ years. I haven't done any interview. So my concern is I was not part of batch one, and the only thing which I can pay for is batch one pre-recorded sessions. And now the current the interview preparations and the details are going on in batch 2, which I
Mhm.
don't have access to.
Mhm.
So I'm kind of stuck and worried how I can prepare for like
Don't worry.
the
See, batch 2 also is about to end, and then I will combine these batch 1 and batch 2, and we will do a combined study on all the interview topics we have in the sheet. We are not going to end very soon. We have just begun. In fact, this is the time where we do crash course. We study for whole year for our boards, and then just before 2 months we do crash course. This is the time where we'll be doing the crash course. So don't worry. Batch 1 has more videos than batch 2, in my opinion. Plus, whatever
no,
integration.
batch 2 are having more, and the latest interview question answers are part of this thing.
Don't worry.
Uh,
You will get both the interview questions 1 and 2. I will add all the integrations topics which are not there in batch 1 in batch 1 as well. So don't worry at all. You will get everything. Don't worry. It is for everybody. Don't worry.
दे दो ना मोहित
but
सबको
I
दे
need access now because I have interview on Saturday, uh, and I don't have access to.
You don't have access to batch 2. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, batch 2 interview question answer sheets also I don't have access to,
I
where
just
everything latest is covered.
I'm just sending the link. Let's just tell me if you're able to access it or not. I have shared it with everybody.
Yeah, yes, I have. Now I can access.
Perfect. And I will add the videos there as well. Don't feel that there is any difference between batch 1 and batch 2. You all are my student. And
No, actually, I attend these sessions now. So I don't relate to like whatever queries and whatever is going on. I'm much more part of the current
And because now
session.
the batch 1, most of the students got placed, and the new people who have joined them are not placed. So that is why I will be combining it so that everybody who does not have job right now and preparing very hard for the interview will be able to prepare it with me. Like I will be there. There is also a informal batch, okay, just for the mock interview preparation. Priyanshu, can you add Shruti there and anyone who other people who are interested in? Okay.
Sir, where?
There is a mock group. Just a second. Created by Ashish.
I wasn't part of that, sir.
Just a second. Let me see. Hmm, what of it that is shocking? Praneeth is there. Praneeth, are you there?
काय झालं Mohit, I'll share the link, WhatsApp group link, in our batch 1
Oh,
group.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Do add all
yeah, well,
who wants to join, because see, I do not join that
yes,
because that time clashes with my office timing, but whenever possible I will also join. Okay.
yes, Mohit.
Who join, they discuss a lot of good interview questions, and that is the group of students, so you need not to be worry about being formal or anything. Okay, please share it in the batch too also, Snail.
Yes.
Okay,
I'm not in a batch
I
2,
will share.
so
I will share that.
yeah,
I will share that.
yes, yeah,
Thanks everyone. Good day. I'm
yeah,
will be rushing
yeah,
back. Bye bye. Good day to you.
yes. Thank you,
Thank
Mohit.
you, sir.